Andy, it's like we spoke it into existence last week. You know, Cody Rhodes, when we recorded last week, did not have a story for WrestleMania. And lo and behold, the final boss shows back up. We're going to talk all about it on this episode of Square Circle Radio Live. Welcome into the show. We appreciate you being with us. The show that is for the fans, by the fans. That's the young buck, Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher, your phenomenal host. And Andy, lots of traffic flooding to our channel last week. Lots of buzz around the world of wrestling. We thank all of our new subscribers, all those comments. Again, we tried to get to each one of those. But Andy, it is the road to WrestleMania. The viewership is showing it. The storylines are showing it. And we're here to talk all about it.
Yeah, it what I think I said this last week too, or a couple weeks ago. It only takes one tweet to kind of blow up the wrestling world right now.
You're right.
It definitely happened. Basically going into SmackDown on Friday, and I think we got left with a lot more questions than we got answers. In fact, I don't really know if we got any answers at all. So it'd be really interesting to dive in and talk about it and how everything literally changed in less than 24 hours going into Elimination Chamber.
It really did. It really, really did. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, number one, I don't know how you missed it. We will catch you up, I promise. But first, again, if you're watching us live, please make sure that you drop those comments, drop those questions. We're going to take them. We will answer them live on the show. As I say every single week, I've got pages of notes here, but if you guys comment, you guys drive the show. We'll talk about what you want to hear about. If you are watching, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps us a ton and does not cost you a thing. If you're listening on podcast, just make sure you're following on whatever platform that you are on. Shout out to Sports Wire Radio. Shout out to WSN Wrestling Society Network, our two partners. We appreciate them so very much. If you missed our vlog that we put up last week, Andy, better late than never. But we do have the Royal Rumble vlog up. Your wife graces the cover of the thumbnail in case anybody was curious. So if you haven't checked that out, it's just a fun behind the scenes look about our trip to the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. A whole lot of fun. Both mine and Andy's first Royal Rumble. Hopefully won't be our last, but we thought it'd be fun to document it for you. So go check that out if you haven't already. All right, Andy. Let's get into the Elimination Chamber preview. It's coming up this weekend. We're going to preview all of it. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing you this poster because it is not photoshopped. It is real. The Rock is on an Elimination Chamber poster, and you may be asking yourself, what happened? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to catch you up. Now, bear with me as I lay all this out. I want to make sure that everybody is up to speed on what we're talking about, because like Andy said to start the show, more questions than answers, maybe no answers. Maybe we're still confused. If you've been with us since the beginning of the year, The Rock cut a promo on the first Raw on Netflix that we were all a little bit confused about. But I think this one is kind of peeling back the layers of that one. Let's get into it. So on Thursday, we posted a clip of us talking about Cody Rhodes and his lack of road to WrestleMania. And on that clip, I asked you who you thought Cody Rhodes would face at WrestleMania. And I answered the question myself too. And I said The Rock. And I said, I still think there's an outside chance that The Rock shows up. Now, this episode aired live on Monday, just like all of our other episodes do. But we posted the individual video clip on the YouTube channel on Thursday. This happened before The Rock announced he was coming back to SmackDown. He announces he's coming back. And then shortly after that, new subscriber to the channel, Mikey D 2003, commented and he said, I just found your channel after The Rock announced he was coming back to SmackDown. He said, and if you are right about this prediction that The Rock is going to hijack the main event, I will be highly impressed. Well, Mikey, I will be highly impressed as well. Thank you for your comment and thank you for your subscription. But Andy, that takes us to Friday Night SmackDown, and The Rock announces that WrestleMania is coming back to New Orleans. Congratulations to New Orleans on that. And then he calls out one Cody Rhodes. And he says that after sharing some tequila after the Raw on Netflix and after the Moana 2 preview in Hawaii, that Rock and Cody are now friends. And you can see, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, by the look on Cody Rhodes' face, I don't know that he's necessarily buying it. Maybe he's as confused as we are. I don't really know. But Rock ends this promo by saying he wants Cody to be his champion. And Cody says, well, you know, I'm the champion of the people. I'm their champion. And Rock says, no, I want you to be my champion. I'll give you everything that you want. All that you have to give me in return is your soul. A very Disney movie-like line there, if I could say so myself. But Andy, you said it. Your interest is peaked, but you're confused. Lay it out for me. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy that we got more than just a WrestleMania announcement from The Rock, because there was a real possibility that that's all we were going to get. I still go back to the Netflix promo because that is still very confusing. I know they connected some of the dots, but it's like we talked about. It seems like we went 2 steps back just to go 1 step forward again. And so that's kind of where the confusion is for me. And I get the concept of what The Rock is talking about Cody selling his soul, being the corporate champion, being, very much like what Seth was with the Authority, just being the company guy that does whatever he wants, gets whatever he wants, but is still the company guy as long as it benefits the final boss, which I get that. But there's still so much confusion I have about not necessarily where we're going, but how we're going to get to where we're going. Because there's so many things that are just all over the place right now. There are so many loose ends to Cody's story that have not yet been finished that I feel like have had every opportunity to be tied up by now and like finished. And we haven't done that yet. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know I thought I had an idea of what was going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. Now I literally have no idea.
If we thought it was such a wide open field to begin with, now let's throw this monkey wrench into it, Andy, and try to predict who's going to win, right?
Well, I said last week that the men's chamber is one of the most stacked, but yet one of the most predictable chambers we've had in a while. And now that is not the case at all. For better or for worse. Like it has thrown a wrench into this whole thing that I don't know what to expect, which is a good thing. Like I like that aspect of it. But it's also like I feel like we have gone way too far or in a circle. We've just gotten in a circle to get back to this point again that we were last year. So I don't know. I think Elimination Chamber is going to clear some things up. I think the promo tonight between him and Seth was really interesting and kind of teased a very Homelander heel Cody that we've been talking about for a while. But we haven't fully got that yet. So this could be playing the seeds for that. There's been a lot of very interesting theories that I am very much behind that I'm sure we'll dive into because there's some wild ones like turning Cena heel and everything that I was against until I heard it kind of laid out and I'm like, oh, that could work. So there's a lot of ways that they could go with this.
Yeah. So as we're previewing the Elimination Chamber, one big detail that I left out in laying out what has happened so far is the fact that Rock said he's going to be at Elimination Chamber this Saturday. That's where he wants Cody's answer. So yeah, we'll dive into some of those scenarios. I'm like you, Andy. I feel like they're overcomplicating this just a bit. Like there's a scenario, man, where you talked about we just did a big circle and we landed right back in the same spot. There's a scenario where we walk out of Elimination Chamber and we know nothing. Like we just know nothing, and like then we really have more questions. I feel like most fans are disappointed in this. And I'll even go further than confused. I'll say disappointed because we got such a different side of the final boss last year. And this is totally different. Like this looks nothing like the Rock that we got at this time last year. And here's what in combing through some of those theories and thinking about this over the last 72 hours or so, last year, Andy, we saw the physical prowess of The Rock on display. The final boss physically imposing his will on Cody Rhodes, on Seth Rollins, on a referee, on whoever got in his way. That's what we got last year. But Cody Rhodes defeated that with the help of John Cena and The Undertaker and Jey Uso and Seth Rollins, and the list goes on and on. But Cody Rhodes defeated that. So then the night after WrestleMania on Monday Night Raw, we saw Cody Rhodes and The Rock in the ring face to face, and the mental manipulation side of the final boss kicks in. And that's where we're continuing here because, Andy, as I've said several times, and I know you'll agree with this, but as I've said several times, all The Rock has to do is say one thing, and we're back to where we were. Like, yes, he cut the corporate promo, and Ari Emanuel apparently says Rock's over WWE. So Rock has to be the one to cut the corporate promos, right? And all he has to do is talk about the STD Field New Orleans and, the whatever. And we're right back to where we were. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm trying to buy in because I know that they're leading us somewhere, but I'm like you, can't see the forest for the trees, but there's so many dang redwoods that are 20 feet tall and what have you. Like, I can't see anything. I don't know where we're going here. And part of me doesn't want to know, but part of me is like, can you give me something?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're absolutely right that we can easily kind of get back on track. But it just seems like such an unnecessary obstacle to put in your own way. And so that's why I honestly, I really think at that time, I think at Bad Blood, Rock was going to be at WrestleMania to wrestle. And then I think when we got to the Raw Netflix, I don't think he was going to be at WrestleMania to wrestle. And now I think there's a chance he's back, but it seems like because of his conflict of schedules, we have to always be tiptoeing this line.
Yes.
And it's not the best way to handle this situation. I also saw in the press conference after SmackDown where Rock basically said, me and Cody don't ever have to wrestle each other.
I know.
This is the kind of story where we don't have to get in the ring together. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, you need to get in the ring together. This is not one of those stories where you guys can never wrestle. You guys need, even if he sells his soul to you, at some point, this match needs to happen for storyline reasons. And it just, I don't know. It seems like we may never get there. I think there's still a really good possibility that Cody does not wrestle The Rock, but Rock ends up wrestling Roman. I think that's still a possibility.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that is 100% one of the scenarios. I think there's a real good chance that Roman shows up in the middle of all this. Roman and Rock end up with this, and Cody is just, we've literally brought Cody back into this just to keep him tied to Rock and Roman so that Roman and Cody make sense at WrestleMania 42 if we get there. I don't know. But Rock Roman is the match we all want. If that's where they go, Andy, you've really taken 30 steps backwards to take 2 steps forward to get us here. You can get to Cody versus Rock now, and we can make it make sense. Rock versus Roman, why was this promo with Cody necessary? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think at this point, as a fan, I don't want to see Rock Roman this year. I think we can push it back. Honestly, if we're looking back at the last couple years, and I'm not saying this because I was there, but in reality, Rock Roman should have happened at 38. We did not need another Rock. We did not need another Roman Lesnar. Yeah,
39.
I
can get behind 39. Yep.
But 38 is the perfect storm of we don't need Roman versus Lesnar. We don't need to unify the titles. That gets rid of all of that. Plus, could you imagine WrestleMania 38, one night being main evented by Austin, the next night being main evented by Rock? It's right
in
there
2022 or 2023, whatever year it was. Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like the window is closing very quickly on this match. It's going to happen, and it needs to happen. But if it needs to happen, then why are we not planting seeds for that to take place this year rather than Roman or Rock Cody happening this year?
All right. So let's look at it. I am not going to ask you the question, what do you think is going to happen? Because that is just
rabbit holes, buddy.
Yes. What I am going to ask you, and we are going to explore those rabbit holes in our own way, I guess.
Right.
What I am going to ask you is, Andy, at Elimination Chamber, when The Rock and Cody go face to face, what do you want to see happen? If you have the pencil and Triple H comes to you and says, Andy, book it, how are you doing it?
I think how I'm doing it is I don't know how I'm doing it. Like if I'm putting it in my hand right now, I think when we get to Elimination Chamber, Cody hesitantly says no.
Yes. Okay.
He doesn't like babyface say no. He like hesitantly says no.
Yep.
I think he even teases saying yes and then like says no in a way. Rock goes to get in his face. I think Roman comes out at that point and is asking like, what are you like? What is going on here? What are we doing here? Going back and forth between those two. And then maybe that's where we get the reveal that Roman and Cody are in the ring together. And all of a sudden, Solo and Jacob and Tama Tonga slide into the ring, and they all stand behind The Rock, and they beat down on Cody, and they beat down on Roman. And then, if you really want to, like, we can revisit last year's WrestleMania in a way of doing potential Cody Roman versus Rock and Jacob Fatu night 1, and then night 2 have Cody wrestle whoever wins the chamber. But I don't like that either. Like I don't like that. I like it, but I don't like it for WrestleMania this year. Like that's the part I'm having struggle with. Of whoever wins the chamber has to face Cody. Like we've already established.
Do they?
Well, who's going to take the spot? Like who? I mean, I know Rock can easily take the spot. I think though, no matter who wins, it becomes a triple threat. I don't think it becomes like I don't see like Punk giving up his spot to The Rock, or I don't see Cena giving up his spot to The Rock. The only person I could see would be Logan Paul, but please do not go that route.
Here's what I think. I think you're very spot on in that. I know you said you don't want that to happen, or you're not sure if you want that to happen. I think you're spot on in how that's going to go. I don't think we get an answer from Cody. I think what ends up happening, and we leave the Elimination Chamber with the door seemingly open to maybe Cody turns. We still don't know. But I think once Rock says, all right, Cody, what's your answer going to be? Cody's sitting there looking. He's looking around. Maybe even has Brandy with him. I don't know. And that's when Roman's music hits. Cody says nothing, and Roman's music hits. And then we get the stare down with those three. Maybe we get some physicality. Somehow it sets up the triple threat match that we've all been begging for a long time. Rock, Roman, Cody for WrestleMania. How do you get out of the Elimination Chamber? John Cena wins it. He has some sort of face-to-face with the man that eliminated him from the Royal Rumble, Jey Uso, and he adds himself to that match. Both championships are triple threat matches at WrestleMania. So you get Rock, Roman, Cody. You get Gunther, Jey, Cena at WrestleMania. That's, if I had the pencil, that's how I would book it.
Yeah. And I like that. I do. It's the bad part about all of this. It's such a convoluted way to get to the end goal.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's such a messy way to get to the end goal. Like the thing I've always said about wrestling is we shouldn't have to force things to make sense. Like they should even if they don't make sense in the moment, they should naturally make sense as the story progresses.
And maybe this will, Andy. Maybe we
Right.
get to Elimination Chamber and then the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, and it all makes sense somehow, some way. We don't know yet. Let them cook, I guess, as Sam
Now,
Roberts said.
I did hear this theory on TikTok, and I don't remember who it's from. So if you hear this and it's your idea, put it in the comments, whatever. That prior to Elimination Chambers, like this Friday,
Mhm.
Cody's in the ring cutting a promo, and John Cena interrupts Cody and comes down to the ring and says, "Listen, I was the face of this company for 15 plus years, and I never sold my soul to anybody. I did it the right way. I did it the hard way, and that's the kind of champion you need to be.
Mm.
Go to Elimination Chamber. Cody says no. Rock beats him down. Whatever, says he's going to make him regret it. Cena wins the Chamber. Go to WrestleMania and ref bump. Typical WrestleMania main event. Ref bump. Refs down. Rock comes down to the ring, slides the chair into Cody, and says, "Hit him." And Cody, goes back and forth, throws the chair down, turns around into an AA from Cena, who then picks up the chair, looks at The Rock. The two of them nod and smile, and Cena starts beating up Cody with with the chair, and becomes the heel corporate WWE champion for his last run. I like that. I think that's a very interesting way. But do we really want to wait until now to turn Cena heel? Like,
Right.
that's my whole thing is, do we really want to wait until the last run to turn Cena heel?
The only thing that gets me with that is that's something we've never seen from Cena before. So on a last run, are you focused on celebrating who he was and all of his accomplishments and you're playing the hits and going home? Or are we trying to tell something new? Because Sam Roberts also presented a similar scenario in the fact that throughout the next couple of months, you can turn Cena babyface again.
Yeah.
Like there's a scenario where Cena drops the title to Cody and Rock's not there to help him, and all is right in the world and Cena's babyface as he goes out for the last couple of months. You could, in theory, do that.
Right.
But man, I don't know. Let's go down this rabbit hole for just a second, and then let's preview the men's elimination chamber, because there's honestly, man, there's a scenario in which Cody says no, and all 6 of those dudes in the chamber could align with The Rock as his corporate champion. There's a scenario that you literally could write it and make it make sense for everybody. So we're going to dive into that in just a second. It seems as though we are all. Oh, let me ask this question first. Does The Rock, let's say Cody turns him down, because The Rock said the night after WrestleMania, "Don't break my heart again." Cody breaks Rock's heart again, what's going to happen? Chances that The Rock inserts himself as the 7th man in the Elimination Chamber match.
I think there's a real possibility that can happen. I think there's a really good possibility that, let's say it kind of happened the way that we talked about, and the new bloodline gets involved to help him beat down Roman and beat down Cody. I think later tonight when they're doing entrances and Damian Priest is on his way out or whoever, we get a little Edge callback to when he did it to Kofi, of the bloodline come out and just beat down Damian Priest, beat down Logan Paul. I'd probably just have to be one of those two. Just have them get absolutely obliterated. Rock just walks out into a pod and just sits there and waits, and he doesn't come out until it's like one person left. Comes out. Probably it'd be amazing if it was Punk. I think it would be hilarious if it was Punk, and it's either got to be Punk and Rock or Cena and Rock. Like, it just has to be one of those two. But yeah, I think there's
although like Rollins and Rock, because call back
Drew
the last
and Rock too. Like, Drew has beef with blood. Like, so I think any of them could really make sense. I think there's a really good possibility, but I don't think that's the way they're going to go, if that makes sense. I think that could happen, but I don't think it's the way they're going to go.
Okay, we have to dive into this scenario. We have to. What if Cody says yes? What if Cody legit says yes?
Out of all the options, I'm leaning towards that as being my favorite. Not even joking, because I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. I think if you want to then do Cody versus Cena, then you've really set that up.
I think that's the slam dunk if Cody says yes.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be Cody.
But like Cody, and then at WrestleMania, Cody needs to absolutely obliterate Cena. Like, we need to see a Homelander version of Cody Rhodes and just take Cena out.
Do you okay? So in that scenario, do you wait for Cody's answer to be yes, and you find out the scenario you just booked with Cena? Do you flip it, and it's Cody who does that, and he turns at WrestleMania and retains the championship at WrestleMania?
Yeah,
is that where you get the answer? All I'm saying is, I feel like let's just say we go down this road for a minute of Cody turning heel. He accepts The Rock's offer. I feel like he's the biggest babyface. He's the face of the company. He is the most pure babyface that we have seen. I would argue before John Cena. I'm going to say purest babyface since Sting, because Sting came after Hogan and Sting was a pure babyface. What if Cody turns heel? If he does it, though, Andy, he has to do it in an impactful way. So is it Roman shows up and Cody beats Roman down and he accepts The Rock's offer? Does it wait and happen at WrestleMania? Like, if you're turning him heel, how physically do you do it to make the most impact?
I think we've seen, especially with this Kevin Owens storyline, that they're willing to take more risks than they were before.
Sure.
And making things more impactful. I think one way you could do it is maybe have the Rock Roman or the Rock Cody segment lead into the actual men's Elimination Chamber match.
Mm-hmm.
And before Cody is able to give his answer, instead of Roman coming out, have Cena come out and try to talk Cody out of it, whatever. They lower the cage. The match happens. We never get an answer. Post-match, Rock comes out and attacks Cena for getting involved. Cody comes out like he's going to make the save with a chair, and then like we want to protect it, but like a chair shot to the head, like or he beats him down and then pile drivers him or hits the vertebrae on the chair. Something just to let us know that this is not the Cody Rhodes you know. Yeah. And then honestly, like the next week, and I know I've seen this kind of going around, the next week, Cody comes out, jet black hair, the blonde is gone.
The blonde has to be gone. It has to be gone.
Suit and tie like he's wearing, but like all black. And just, I mean, we need to see, because we've seen on the independent scene what Cody's like as a heel, and he can be a nasty heel. And I think that's what he needs to be when he goes, if we go this route against Cena.
The only pushback that I'm going to give, because a lot of fans want to see Cody heel, and when's the best time to turn a babyface heel? It's when he's the hottest, and Cody's not going to wrestle forever. So as good of a babyface run as we've had, we need to have an equally good heel run. But Andy, WWE is making money hand over fist. Cody is one of the top 5 sellers of merchandise in Fanatics. Like above any other wrestler, above most athletes. He does all the Make-A-Wish. He makes all the appearances. He does the media. He's the champion. He's this, he's that, he's that. Do you really think they can afford to pull the plug on Cody Rhodes right now?
Yes. For one reason and one reason only. Because this is Cena's last run.
Okay.
I think Cena can pick up the babyface slack that Cody leaves behind.
Okay.
I also think because Jey Uso is as hot as he is, I think he could kind of slide into that moment as well. And listen, even though he goes corporate, like going corporate doesn't mean he will stop doing interviews. Like it doesn't mean that he'll stop doing media things. And you know, I saw a video of Jacob Fatu putting Lex Luger's wheelchair in a car. So like kayfabe's kind of dead in that area. So he can still do the Make-A-Wish stuff and everything else. So I I think you can pull the trigger on it. Like, I think you can pull the trigger on a Cody heel turn, and it won't hurt. In fact, I think it might skyrocket him even more. And then, listen, we talk about all the time, going from a babyface to a heel and then going back to that babyface run. Like, we've seen what it's done for Roman. When it happens for Cody, it would be nuclear. I mean, absolutely nuclear.
I'm not going to be upset if it happens. I'm going to be a little disappointed if it happens, but I'm 100% willing to run with it, and let's see what happens. All right, before we get to the rest of the Elimination Chamber card, I want to remind you to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. 90% of our viewership not subscribed to the channel. Guys, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us so much. Like the video as well. It helps the algorithm. Leave a comment, leave a question. Even if you aren't watching live, we get back to those as soon as we get them, or as close to that as we can. Before we preview the rest of the card, let's hear a little word from Sports Wire Radio and the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because Sports Wire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, with great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows, New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska, the Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip, Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind, Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, Sports Wire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and you can also catch Sports Wire Radio anytime on YouTube at Sports Wire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. Sports Wire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on Sports Wire Radio. I am your host, the owner of Sports Wire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
All right, good stuff from our pals over at Sports Wire Radio. Make sure that you check them out if you haven't already. All right, Andy, let's get into the rest of the Elimination Chamber card. If you're watching this shorter video on our YouTube channel and you're looking for us to talk about The Rock and Cody, we just did on a previous video. I'm going to link it right here. So just make sure that you follow that if you want to hear our thoughts on that. But let's get into it, because Andy, The Rock and Cody lead directly, seemingly, into the men's Elimination Chamber, because as of right now, as it stands, the winner of the Elimination Chamber between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, and John Cena will go on to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania for the championship. You said it at the top of the show, Andy. You thought it was the most stacked but very predictable. Now you're just not sure, because now, I said it just a few minutes ago, we can dive into the other scenarios with all of the other guys that can possibly, like, look, Andy, we saw that The Rock in his backstage Instagram video on the Netflix Raw, we saw him have an interaction with Drew McIntyre, and Drew whispered something in his ear and they had a little conversation. We don't know what was said. It makes sense. Drew could be the corporate champion, but here's what I want to ask you, Andy. The one that a lot of people are throwing out is CM Punk. Now, what I will say, I personally do not think that Phil Brooks came back to the WWE to put on a suit and align himself, kayfabe or not, with The Rock as that kind of bad guy. I don't think that's going to happen. However, CM Punk has repeatedly said he's not in the business to make friends. He's in the business to make money, and he's making more money right now than he's ever made. And imagine how much money he could make if he pulled this stunt. And he also told Cody Rhodes, Andy, that he was his friend. And as his friend,
Stab in the front.
he's not going to stab him in the back. He's going to stab him in the front. Andy, what a way to stab him in the front if he were to align with The Rock.
Yeah, and I think even if he does align with The Rock, like, he doesn't have to be a suit wearing guy. Like, I think he can still be the same CM Punk, like, because like you
But
said, he
wouldn't it
brings
be
in money.
hilarious for him coming out in a
It would be
suit, though?
hilarious.
It was
It
so
would
good.
be hilarious. Now, I did just think of this that could kind of tie everything together is if Punk became the corporate guy for The Rock and we head towards WrestleMania doing Cody Punk and we somehow go to WrestleMania with Roman Rock and have Paul Heyman align himself with The Rock and be the corporate liaison between The Rock and Punk, and we put Punk and Heyman back together, and that could be part of the favor that Paul Heyman had, is like putting it in the ear of the Rock of like, hey, let's finally put everything behind Punk and go forward. I think that's a real possibility.
Mhm.
I think the other end of this is I think this is also a great matchup if you turn Cody heel, of doing a heel Cody versus a babyface CM Punk, because that's going to be like a full promo battle anyway. That's one of those feuds that you could do face versus face because both guys are going to just lay into each other on the mic and then head into WrestleMania and just duke it out and fight.
Yep.
So I think you could easily like flip the roles and have Punk be the face, Cody be the heel. So I think that's a real possibility out of everything. That's probably like right up there with Cena as the other one that could really happen.
Here's my big hang up with Punk. And I'm not saying that he can't win the chamber and it can't make sense or you know, what have you. It's that favor that you mentioned. It's like, not that I want to know more about what the favor is, but I just feel like that's what he needs to hold on to rather than, oh, I need to get to the main event of WrestleMania. No, I've got this favor that I can cash in with Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Heyman obviously has ties to the bloodline. Every member of the bloodline goes back to, you know, when he was whatever. He's managed everybody. We get that story, right? So obviously he has ties to The Rock. So you could connect those dots and that can be the favor somehow. I just think the favor is more cut and dry than that. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned it last week, the favor can easily be Roman Reigns interfering in the Elimination Chamber to take out Seth Rollins and allow CM Punk to win. That's a favor. I still tend to think the favor ends up being that Punk doesn't win this match, doesn't win the chamber, and he somehow does something else at WrestleMania. And when Roman Reigns becomes champion or somewhere down the line that makes sense, Punk just says, here's my favor. I want it. It's happening now. You know what I mean? Whether he's a heel or face. Like, I just feel like the favor is more instantaneous than, again, we don't want to manipulate it like we're doing this, or we don't want it to get lost or whatever. He has that ace up his sleeve that he doesn't need the chamber win. Would the chamber win be great? Of course it would. But he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't need it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's so much to be said from the promo before the Rumble between Cody and Punk.
Yes, very true. Yes.
I think that could easily set up for WrestleMania. Because, and I know I'm the homer and I know I'm the bias guy, so I take this with a grain of salt, obviously.
Sure.
But I'm probably in the minority in this, and I'm fine with that. I would much rather see a Punk Cody than a Cena Cody at WrestleMania because I think there's so much more.
Yeah, I would
There's so much more to the story of Punk Cody.
Yeah.
And I even like you add The Rock to that. Yeah, that tells a story. I think even if you remove The Rock from the situation, that's still like a story that needs to be told for WrestleMania. So yeah, and I agree. I think the favor is going to directly lead to a match with Roman at some point. Yeah. That's exactly, or it's going to lead to, like you said, Roman getting involved in costing Seth and everything else heading forward. So yeah, I think Punk has probably the second best odds to win the chamber. I think he's the second pick for a lot of people. And it would not shock me if he did win the chamber. It would not shock me if we were heading to Cody and Punk at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think that Punk Cody is more intriguing. I have been long against Cody and Cena. I've preached that for a long time. Like, I just don't think that's a good idea if you're doing face versus face. assuming that Cody does not take the Rock up on his offer, or
Right.
what have you, or assuming that one of them doesn't turn at the end of the match at WrestleMania, or turn along the way, whatever. An ultimate babyface versus babyface matchup for WrestleMania, I don't like it, because I think the cheers are starting to dwindle for Cody as it is. They're not as loud as they were. So
He got a good pop tonight.
he did. He got a really good pop tonight. There's something about The Rock pushing Cody's buttons that make people like him more, I think. But,
Sure.
but that's true. Yeah. But if I am making my official Elimination Chamber prediction for the men's chamber match, I'm going John Cena. I don't want to make that pick, but it just, to me, it makes the most sense for that to happen. I think if he wins, doesn't he either tie or surpass Triple H for most chamber wins of all time, or something like that?
Something like that.
He either ties the record for appearances or surpasses the record for appearance, and then either ties the record for wins or breaks the record. Something. He's involved in both of those records with this chamber. So I think Cena gets it done in his last chamber match. What do you think?
My head says Cena. I did this with the Rumble, and I'm fine with that. My head says Cena. My heart says Punk. And so I think Punk wins. I really do. I think it comes down to Cena and Punk. I think we're going to have a great moment. I think they're going to do a lot of amazing callbacks. I don't think this is the last time we see these two guys in a ring together either. Because I would love a one-on-one matchup between them again. And let it happen at Money in the Bank, just full circle. But I think it's like, I think Punk does have a really good opportunity to win. And again, I'm more intrigued by CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. No matter the dynamic of face versus heel, it doesn't really change the story. Right. I think it's the same story going through. So I'm going with CM Punk.
All right, let's move on to the women's elimination chamber. And Andy, I want to throw an interesting question at you before we dive into the actual match and the participants, which are Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Bayley, and Roxanne Perez. First thing I'm going to throw out at you is last week, and seemingly several weeks before that, we have really been hard on Triple H's booking of Cody Rhodes going into WrestleMania as the face of the company, as the WWE champion. But Andy, as I was prepping for the show tonight, Rhea Ripley is in the same situation as Cody Rhodes. She is the face of the women's division. She is the women's world heavyweight champion. And I'm not saying, again, a lot of people that regularly listen to this show, and maybe Andy, you do as well, think that I'm just bagging on the stipulation of the chamber match winner gets a shot at WrestleMania. Like, I'm not necessarily just bagging on that. What I'm saying is like Rhea Ripley should feel as important as Cody Rhodes in a lot of respects, yet the story for her leading, and I know she's tied up a little bit with Io Sky and they're going to have a match next week, but the story for her leading into WrestleMania just doesn't seem as important as I feel like it should. Do you get that feeling at all with Rhea as well?
I do. And honestly, like, I get that. And I know there's been a lot of talk about it the last week or so, but Triple H is good at a lot of things, and he's good at booking a lot of things. The women's division is not one of those things that he's good at booking.
Yeah.
And I think he caught lightning in a bottle with Rhea the first time. And obviously injuries and everything else have kind of dwindled it out. I honestly think we stayed way too long with Rhea versus Judgment Day, like way too long. And I think that has put a damper on not just her, but on Judgment Day as a whole. But yeah, I agree. Like, I don't want to say there's no intrigue for Rhea's match this year at WrestleMania, because whoever wins, I think they could add instant intrigue to it and make it really interesting. But again, the story to get there is important. Like the match, I always think of like this. The match can be great. Like, and that's one of the things that I know, don't want to bring them into it because you might start hissing and throwing stuff at me.
Oh, Lord.
But like, one of the things that AEW is good at is knowing their audience. And their audience wants the 5-star match. Like their audience wants, your Will Ospreays versus Kenny Omegas, because what wrestling fan doesn't want to see that match? And the story doesn't even need to be there to see that match. The story is, hey, we're two of the best in the world. Let's go wrestle each other, and that's all the story needs. But when you get to a point like with Rhea, the match itself, like let's take last year, or 2 years ago, sorry, with Charlotte and Rhea. Like we knew that match was going to be good, but if we'd have got like a fantastic story heading into that, and then the match is as good as it was, that's like a perfect storm for everybody.
Yeah.
But we can't seem to get that on the women's side, and it seems like we can't get that outside of the Bloodline storyline. And even now, that's not really the case anymore. It seems like,
right.
So I don't know. I think the Elimination Chamber is weird this year. I think it's good. I think the lineup in it is great, and I don't mind it having a stipulation, because I just don't think you can have an Elimination Chamber match without it being either for a title or for a number one contendership. Like it has to be for something.
Yep.
But I wouldn't mind Rhea putting her title on the line in the Elimination Chamber this year, and then we go from there. Or Tiffany put her title on the line, and Rhea face somebody else. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic this year.
I am a big proponent of the champion putting their championship on the line in the chamber. That's what I was begging.
We've got like 8 championships. Why is not one of them on the line in this thing?
For sure. I was begging for Gunther to put his title on the line in the Elimination Chamber. That's the one I really wanted. But I think Rhea in it would be fantastic as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like that thought came to me. I'm like, that makes so much sense that it's both of them. It's weird that it's both of them. But yeah, I don't know. It's almost like Rhea's title reign is forgotten. She won it on the first Raw on Netflix, and we just really haven't seen a whole lot of her as champion since. I know she wrestled Nia on Saturday night's main event, but it is what it is.
Right.
All right. As we look at the field for the Women's Elimination Chamber, the tag team championship changed hands on the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeating Bianca Belair and Naomi in a fantastic match. Andy, the 2 false finishes, the Oblivion that Bianca made the save, and then the KOD that Raquel made the save. I was literally coming out of my seat on those 2 false finishes. Those were shot so well and saved at the very last second. Dude, that was such a good main event.
Yeah. And I think towards the end, it turned in my mind. I was like, this is a kick out fest. Like we're just kicking out everything. We're getting it breaking up. That's like 2 or 3 weeks in a row that the women's tag division in ring has killed it. Like has been the best thing on the show by far.
And what team was the common thread?
Liv and Raquel.
Yep.
It's they have the perfect dynamic together.
Yep.
And I don't take anything away from Bianca and Naomi, because they were killing it tonight too.
For sure.
So yeah, it was a really, really good main event. Amazing kick out, amazing finishes at the end, and kind of weird how they won. Like out of everything, she doesn't kick out of getting her face hit in the post, but I get it at the same time too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But yeah, it's thrown a wrinkle into everything, because I was totally expecting or waiting for Jade's music to hit tonight. Like I was waiting for Jade to come out, because it seemed like that was a possibility.
Yeah. So Bianca and Naomi both are in the Elimination Chamber as well. Do we see Jade come back at Elimination Chamber?
I think there's a good chance.
I feel like you have to. Like I feel like you have. Sam Roberts floated the theory out that we don't get the reveal of Jade's attacker until the night after WrestleMania, like the Raw after Mania or whatever. So
that's a long time.
It is, I know, but we've waited a long time for them to reveal anything. So, as another month really get now that they've lost the tag titles, though, what else is the story?
Yeah, and I think it could be one of those that maybe somehow she gets in the chamber, like not in the actual match, but she gets inside the chamber during the match, and Bianca and Naomi and Liv are all standing there. And she just is looking at him, and it looks like she's getting ready to attack Liv, and then maybe she turns and attacks Naomi or Bianca, because they're the ones that attacked her.
Yep.
And then like we're all confused, and then she's like, after the match, she's like, I'll explain Monday. We get to Monday, and she shows footage of whoever attacked her. So
Yep.
I think that's a real possibility. But she has to show up sooner rather than later.
If
Like,
we're
she
getting
has-
WrestleMania, she has to.
yeah.
Yep. All right, let's put the field up one more time. Roxanne Perez making her debut. Bailey, the wily veteran. Naomi, the veteran as well. Bianca Belair, former women's champion. Liv Morgan, the wrestler of the year in 2024. And then the returning Alexa Bliss. Andy, you know that I would love to see Alexa Bliss win this. I just don't think it's going to happen. Who's your pick? Who are you taking?
I kind of said last week that she was the most intriguing to me. And I think I'm going to stick to my guns. I think Bailey wins the Elimination Chamber. And we get Bailey versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania in a match that we have never really seen before, and I don't think has been on a lot of people's radar. But I think it's something that is definitely WrestleMania worthy, and it's something that they'll have a great match, and they can tell a great story of, her with Damage Control and Rhea with Judgment Day and the path that they've come from and everything else. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there. So I'm gonna go with Bailey.
I was all about Bianca Belair until you brought Bailey up to me last week, and it really has just stuck in my brain because one of the main reasons is that you look at the field, look at the men's field, for example. We could pick out scenarios. Okay, let's say John Cena wins. Well, then you're probably going to get Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk in a match. Drew McIntyre, he's dabbled with Damian Priest a little bit. Who's Logan Paul going to face? Well, he could easily face AJ Styles. That's who he, eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Okay, fine, great. Let's say that, somebody else wins. There's scenarios for all of the men that you could easily pivot to if they don't win. With the women, there's not a whole lot outside of this Jade Cargill scenario that you could pivot to. So, and I think one of the ones that's really left out is Bailey. Like, I don't know what Bailey's going to do if she doesn't win this chamber. So I'm with you. I'm going to take Bailey. I like it. I think it's really intriguing. Her and Rhea is just, that's a fascinating matchup for sure.
Yep.
Speaking of fascinating matchups and matchups that I think this one, Andy, if done correctly, will surpass both chamber matches and be the match of the night. Of course, I'm talking about the unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in Canada. Bring back El Generico. Bring back Kevin Steen. Let's just go all Ring of Honor on them here. Yes. I mean, Andy, this is going to be brutal. It really is.
It's going to be a bloodbath, and I am totally fine with that. It's what it needs to be. I think this needs to be the main roster's version of Johnny versus Tommaso unsanctioned.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be ramped up even more. Like I want somebody to be stretchered out after this is over. Like I want them to take that serious of what Adam Pearce said to Sami Zayn of, I can't stop him if he like tries to end your career.
Yep.
And like they both need to go after each other in that way. So I'm expecting some pop-up power bombs on the apron. I'm expecting a package pile driver. I'm expecting Sami Zayn to drop somebody on their head again on the turnbuckle like he did to Gunther. Like I'm just expecting it to be an all-out brawl. And by far, this is the match I'm looking forward to the most.
Yep.
I said from the beginning, this should be on WrestleMania. I still think this should be on WrestleMania. But the fact that we're getting it at Elimination Chamber, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think these guys, I'm telling you, man, I know that it would be great for it to be on WrestleMania, but for these guys to be from Canada and having this match in Canada, like, I personally think that means just as much to them for them to be able to do this. Because, in reality, they are best friends. I mean, look, Kevin Owens was at Sami Zayn's house last week for SmackDown or whatever it was. That either before or after he shot that promo, they were in there having dinner and they were hanging out,
absolutely,
and having a good time or whatever. And then Kevin's like, "Oh, I got to go outside and shoot this promo. Just make sure you're by this window." And then is what it is. But no, man, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think there's a possibility they could both get stretchered out of this thing. You know, nobody is standing at the end of it. It's absolutely the way that it should be. But I'm not going to call it a no contest. I'm going to make a straight prediction in this one. We're picking these matches, and my pick, both of these guys really need this win, but I'm going Kevin Owens. Like, he's lost 3 straight championship matches to Cody Rhodes. He had a no contest with Randy Orton. Like, Kevin Owens needs this win a lot more. I'm going KO in this one.
Kevin Owens has not had like a successful feud in like 4 years, 5 years. It feels like, outside of winning the tag titles, but like on his own, like he hasn't done a lot. He's done a lot of great stuff, but he's not been rewarded with a lot of wins. I think you're absolutely right.
He hasn't had a lot of meaningful feuds with wins more than what? Jericho, and that was in 2017.
Cena too.
Well, Cena was before that, right?
Yeah, but Jericho,
like since
beat
Jericho.
Styles for the U.S. title, but there's a lot of problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I singles, I think it's probably been that. So it's about time. It's a shame this man has not been champion, like WWE champion again in a long time. It needs to happen again. But yeah, he absolutely needs this win. And I think part of the reason why he needs this win is because he's not going to win at WrestleMania.
Right.
But I think the opposite, Sami Zayn can lose this because he will win at WrestleMania.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking ahead of that way. Give Kevin Owens the win. Let him win, and then let him go after a mid-card title and win it and hold it for forever. Like, please, we talked about last week of mid-card titles not meaning as much as they used to. Put it on Kevin Owens, and it'll mean everything. I promise you.
Absolutely. Yep, I completely agree. I mean, he turned that U.S. title around. You know, the feud with AJ you were talking about, coming out and shaving his face and wearing a suit and the whole 9 yards. I mean, good grief. Let me tell you a match that I'm really looking forward to, and that's the other match on this card. Not a lot of people looking forward to this, but I am a huge fan of Trish Stratus. I think she's one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. She is tagging with the women's champion, Tiffany Stratton, to take on the former champion, Nia Jax, and her lackey, Candice LeRae. And Andy, 2 reasons I'm looking forward to this one. One, we get Trish back in a ring in a match in Toronto. That's cool. And second, it's always great when Candice LeRae gets a spotlight. Like, I love to see her getting this spot. Like, we thought it was sad when Indy Hartwell got released. What are they going to do with Candice LeRae? Dude, this has been great for her. I am so glad she's had this opportunity.
Yeah, it's been fantastic for her. I think she's doing a great job with it. She fits the like cunning, like want to align herself with the biggest and baddest in the room, so that way she succeeds too, and then turns on her and whatever the case is that's coming. But yeah, I'm excited for this match. I am. It's probably the one I'm not looking forward to the most, but it's not because it's going to be bad. It's just because all the other matches have such a high stake compared to this one that this one just kind of feels like your throwaway hometown, let Trish wrestle in front of a crowd, which is not a bad thing. So like, I'm totally fine with that. My one concern is always this concern when you put Nia Jax in the ring with somebody like Trish. Don't hurt her, because that double bonsai spot on SmackDown was horrible.
Yep,
it was so bad. She literally landed back on her feet and just sat, and then it's not good. Please don't do that again.
I know. I agree. I obviously have concerns, but again, I think it'll be fun. That being said, what you picking the match? Are we going hometown Trish and Tiffany? What do you think?
I am. I'm going with Tiffany and Trish to get the win, give Tiffany a big win before heading into WrestleMania. And then I think post-match, I think Charlotte lays out both of them. I think she lays out Trish. I think she lays out Tiffany, because there's always tension between Charlotte and Trish. And then that builds more steam heading into WrestleMania for Charlotte and Tiffany. So I'm going with the hometown girl to get the win, but I don't think she'll be standing on her feet by the end of the night.
I don't know about the post-match attack, but I do agree that Trish and Tiffany are going to get the win here. All right, that's our Elimination Chamber preview. Again, make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate that so much. As we like to do, let's recap our picks. The Elimination Chamber coming up this Saturday. Let's go back as to where we started here. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I'm going Tiffany and Trish picking up the win. What do you got?
I'm going Tiffany and Trish getting the win.
Unsanctioned match. The two Canadians, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, going to tear each other apart. Who are you taking?
Kill Kevin. Kill. I think he's going to absolutely do it. Kevin Owens.
I think Kevin Owens as well. We are 2 for 2 here. Women's Elimination Chamber. I think it's going to make us 3 for 3. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going Bayley. I think Bayley gets the win.
I think Bianca is really, really close, but I have to agree with you. I'm going with Bayley. That's 3 for 3. Can we clean sweep? Ugh, I doubt it. Men's Elimination Chamber. I am going the GOAT, John Cena, to pick up the win in his last chamber. What do you got?
I'm going for the man that's going to get his first ever WrestleMania main event. Long time overdue. CM Punk.
All right. That'll be the picks. And you know what you guys can do if you're watching us? Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this Saturday after the Elimination Chamber, we're coming right back here to recap the show. Hold us to our picks. We have no problem telling you if we were right or wrong, but we want you guys to hold us to our picks as well. And drop your comments with your picks. Make sure you let us know who you think is coming out victorious this Saturday. All right, Andy, a couple of things to hit on our way out here. The NXT TNA partnership is exploding in a big way. The X Division champion of TNA, Moose, showed up on NXT last week to confront Oba Femi, the NXT champion. And then Oba Femi returned the favor, Andy, showing up in NXT, aligning himself with the Hardy Boys. And they will face the System, that is Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Brian Myers, coming up this week on TNA. I believe that is correct. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Andy, spoiler alert on TNA, did they announce Moose versus Oba Femi for Roadblock for both championships? Did I see that right?
I think so. I think that's what I saw. Which
Man.
is wild, if that's the truth.
Man, like, that is so wild. You've got Moose. He's going to be back on NXT this week against Lexus King. You've got the Hardys who are going to be on NXT again this week. Just wild stuff happening right now, man.
Yeah. Out of all the possibilities, for some reason, Moose did not cross my mind about showing up in NXT.
Right.
But when he showed up, I was immediately like, this is the best thing both of these companies have ever done. Because I never would have thought I would have seen Moose on NXT TV.
Yep.
And he's here. And I am more than thrilled about it. I think this is a great way. And I honestly, we don't talk about NXT a lot because, to be real honest, I don't have a lot of time to watch NXT. I keep up with it for the most part.
Yep.
Oba Femi is the future of this business and of WWE, because the dude has swagger, he has aura, and he can go in the ring. And I am very excited to see when he gets called up. I honestly think when he gets called up, it's like mid-card, nope, we're putting you right in the main event level, because he is right there at it. But that being said, I would love Moose to be NXT champion, even if it's for like a couple weeks. Like, if he won that title and was NXT champion for a couple weeks, that is such a crazy thing.
And that's an easy way to take the title off Oba Femi if you are going to transition him sometime in the very near future. Who's a believable guy that can actually beat him? Might not be anybody on the NXT roster, but daggum, it could be Moose. Moose can beat him. He can hold that title, and then you can figure out a way for, somebody else to win that title back from him. Speaking of the champion of the company, Joe Hendry on TNA, and Elijah, the former Elias, with a concert and a tag team win on TNA. Andy, it's like the worlds collided, and it was a beautiful thing with these two guys.
I didn't know there was a third brother.
Right? I know.
Yeah, I didn't know. Kevin Owens is somewhere slamming his head into the wall. Listen, this is like fantastic. This is as good as when we had Elias and Jeff Jarrett in the ring before the Rumble a couple years ago, when they were in the ring together. It's just, it makes the most sense. And whenever he gets called up or whenever he comes to WWE or whatever, I need to see a dueling Joe Hendry and Rock concert. Like, I think
Oh,
those two
God.
guys together would be hilarious, going back and forth with each other. But yeah, that's the perfect pairing to introduce him to TNA, and why not put him with the other guy that is a singing / comedy / serious guy? Like, I think it works really well.
And dude, the pop that he got was wild, man.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, it was so good. And it helped that they were taping it Full Sail, and that's,
Yeah.
Elias was very popular there, of course, starting in NXT, all that kind of stuff. One more NXT headline to get to. We speculated it, and the name is official. It is Ricky Saints, former Ricky Starks. I don't know the reason for the name change, Andy. I know the reason behind what Ricky has said is he wanted to put some hometown flavor in his name and pay tribute to his home city of New Orleans. But have you read anything online about speculation as to why he had to change it?
I saw somewhere where he wanted to change it. Like, I think he may have wanted to change it coming in or something like that. I don't know. I hope that's the case, because if it was like a WWE thing to change it, it's one of my biggest pet peeves that they do is who cares if they made their name somewhere else, like bring them in, and let them do their thing. So like that, because they let like Ethan Page do it. They let Sean Spears do it.
Yep.
They're not making these TNA people change their names as they, as they come in. So I don't know. I get the name behind, like I get the reason behind it. And the more I've heard it, the more I'm like, it's fine. It's whatever.
Yep.
But he's always going to be Ricky Starks to me, I think. Like,
Sure.
I know I've gotten to the point where I call Walter Gunther now. I've given up on that fight and that crusade. But it's always going to be in the back of my head of like, when I say Ricky Saints, it's going to be like Ricky Saints. Like it's going to take a minute, but it is.
Yeah,
It's not the worst name change they've ever done. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I tend to think that you just rattled off the TNA guys and the other NXT guys that have come in that haven't had to change their name. So I don't think he would have had to change it. I think he probably wanted to. I lean towards that as well. All right. We have one more segment as we wrap up here. We appreciate you guys being with us. We apologize if we have gone long, but this is a fun segment that we wanted to wrap the show with. And it is called...
You just made the list.
It is called You Just Made the List. And what list are we talking about? Well, listen, I will tell you the inspiration behind this segment. So, Andy, at my job, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. We get a lot of work done at my job, all right? But we also know how to have a lot of fun at my job. And one of the things that has come up at my job has been the whiteboard. And now the whiteboard is the question of the day. Everybody can float their opinions. And we've used this whiteboard to rank quarterbacks in the NFL, who's the top tier, who's the college quarterbacks. Today ended up being like, what is your favorite name for a group of animals? So like a school of fish or a pack of wolves, or I think mine was a bloat of hippopotami, I think is what I put up there. Yeah, so some stupid stuff like that. But the other day, I posed the question, what are the most iconic wrestling theme songs in history? So that's what Andy and I are going to debate. And the way that this is going to work is Andy and I literally have to agree on a list of 10 theme songs that are the most iconic of all time. This is not our favorite. This is not what we would prefer. This is not, whatever. These are the ones that are the most recognizable, the 10. We have to agree on them. So if you're watching us on YouTube, this is not really going to be the most entertaining of things as far as we can't show you anything. We can't play these theme songs. We can't do any of that. But Andy and I are really... we tried. Sorry, we don't have the clearance. Anybody wants to make the call for us to get that clearance, I'm more than happy to answer it. But so we're going to run through some theme songs. We're just going to start throwing out names, and then we're just going to say, okay, is that a lock? Yes, no, okay. And we're only going to lock up 10 spots. we're going to forget some people. Let's
Yep.
just be real, Andy.
Yep.
I made a list of like 35 theme songs here to throw out, and obviously you're going to throw
more
some
than
out
I have.
I'm not going to throw out all 35. They're not all 35 iconic, but I think that you could make the argument for it. Here's the first one that I will throw out, and it got a lock at work. And I think it's worth the debate here is, okay, before I say this, let me rephrase, or let me add this caveat. People with multiple songs get one spot. So, like, for example, Triple H has like 5. He gets one spot if he is on this list, and those 5 songs can count into that spot. So, if there's confusion there, the first one I'm going to throw out is Hulk Hogan. Dude has had Real American. He's had Voodoo Child, even had his WCW song. I think there's an argument to be made for Hulk Hogan to have a lock. Throw some names out there. Who are you thinking of?
I think, and again, like I know we get all of his songs, but I don't even think it's for the song. I think it's just for the beginning, and that's Austin. Like the Glass Shatter is like you could play that anywhere, and everybody instantly is like Stone Cold. Like where's Stone Cold? What's going on? So I would say Austin.
Austin. All right. What about? Here's one. I mean, he's got a lot of theme songs, and all of them iconic in their own way. The Undertaker.
Yeah.
I mean, like you hear the gong, you immediately you visualize the smoke and the lights and the whole 9 yards. So I think the Undertaker is considered here.
Yeah, I agree. I thought another one. I think again, it's not necessarily the song itself, but it's how it begins. And whenever you hear "If You Smell What the Rock is Cooking," it's instantly everybody knows who that is. So I would say Dwayne.
Yeah, Dwayne for sure. And I threw it out just a minute ago as an example, Triple H. I mean, dude has had so many entrance themes through the years that have really, really captured who he is as a character and really just synonymous with a lot of wrestling fans. Triple H, I'll throw a couple more out real quick. Edge. I mean, his most recent one. I mean, he's had some really good ones as well. Chris Jericho, you're talking about singing along to Judas, break down the walls. John Cena, I mean, instantly recognizable. They played it at ball games and stuff. So I think John Cena. Throw me out a couple here.
I would say Rey Mysterio. I think that's one that pops off. I know we talked about Hogan, but I think the NWO. I think that's one that people would remember. I think DX is another one that people would remember. And then this is the one where I've got 2 more, and then we'll go from there. But I think Batista. And then this is the one I'm going to get pushback because you just brought it up. They play it at games, and they play it at sport. Like everywhere I've been, I've heard it. I don't think though people know whose music it is.
Right.
And that's Bobby Roode.
Yep. I know
the Glorious theme. I hear it everywhere. I literally hear it everywhere I go. People I don't think they know who it is, but every time I hear it, I'm like, that's one of the greatest entrances of all time. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a couple out here. I agree. I'm going to throw a couple out here that maybe people don't think about. The Hardy Boys. Yeah. I mean, the Hardy Boys theme music, Goldberg, that's pretty iconic. The Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, he's on my list too.
It's the graduation song. Of course it's iconic. Here's one to think about, man. Vince McMahon. Like people hear that song, like I know the context or what have you, but like that song is just, I don't know. It's good, man.
To that point, I think Shane can be thrown in there too.
Yep.
I've talked about him all night, so I'm going to bring him up again. I think Punk, I think Cult of Personality, and then This Fire Burns. I think they're both fantastic songs that people recognize with him. I had another one. I can't find it now.
Is Cody Rhodes worthy of being on this and considered on this list? I mean, I
think he's worthy of being considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's worth to be considered.
What about? I mean, we haven't even mentioned Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton. Roman
Yeah.
Reigns.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many.
Ric
Okay.
Flair.
Ric Flair, daggum, you're right. Yeah, for sure. Seth Rollins, The Shield, Bret
Eddie
Hart,
Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero. Here, I'll throw you one out here. You didn't even throw it out. I'm disappointed. The Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Like that song, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's very noticeable.
for sure. All right, let's start narrowing this list down, man. All right. I'm gonna give you first dibs on a lock. You tell me someone that you think belongs on this list. We're narrowing down the 10. Like we've thrown a bunch of names out. Now let's narrow down the 10. What's one you think belongs?
When you sent me the idea for this, the first name that popped in my head was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep, no doubt.
So that's one I think should have to be on here.
Yep, I think Austin has to have a lock. Okay. I think that D-Generation X needs a lock. I don't think there are very many people that were Attitude Era fans that don't recognize that song.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. We can table that. We can table that
one.
Let's
there's
table
so
that
many
one.
options. I want to see where we get to.
Yep. Okay. Give me another one.
I'm kind of trying to get like the ones I know for sure that we're probably going to agree and lock on. Like Taker. Like I think Taker absolutely has to be on the list.
Taker's got to have a lock. All right, we got 2 locks so far, Austin and Taker. What about Triple H?
Yeah.
I think Triple H has had so many theme songs. Yep. I think he has to have one. So that's 3. Give me another possibility.
Man, I'll throw Cena out there.
Yeah.
I think the beginning of his song and everything else.
Yep. I think you're right. That was one of those at work that got tossed around and we weren't totally sure about. So we've got Austin, Triple H, John Cena, and The Undertaker. I'm going to throw, this is selfish. You can push back on this one if you want. I'm going to say Edge.
Oh, like I'm not pushing back on that at all.
It is my favorite theme song of all time.
Yeah.
There's no ands if buts about it. There's no wrestling theme song that gets me more pumped than listening to Metalingus by Alter Bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, going with that method, then I'll give you
5
mine. You can push back.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think the greatest theme song of all time is Batista. I think it's such a fantastic song that even when he was Bootista, I couldn't boo him because his song would hit and I'd pop for it.
Okay.
So I would put that out there, but it can be tabled.
Let's table that one because I tend to agree with you, but there are a couple out here that I think we need to consider before we put Batista. So we got 5. We've got Austin, Triple H, Edge, John Cena, and The Undertaker. I'm gonna throw out Hogan.
Yeah, I don't think you can really argue it.
Yep. I think Hogan has to be a lock here.
Yep.
Okay, that's 6. Oh, we're getting down to it now. We have DX and Batista on the table. What about the NWO?
Oh man.
Can we cheat and lump that into Hulk Hogan?
I'm fine with that. Because they're the same. I mean, like, when I think of the NWO music, I think of Hogan coming out with the title, strumming the guitar.
Right. That's true.
So,
yep.
They do kind of lump together.
Okay. So we can lump the NWO with Hogan.
I think DX and Triple H are very different.
I think DX, yes, for sure. I agree with that. Okay. So we have Austin, Triple H, Edge, Cena, Taker, Hogan / NWO. So we have 6.
Yeah. I'll throw it out there, and I'm not even sure it's like a lock yet, but I just want to throw it out there for consideration, like to be on the table at least. And I really think that's Rey Mysterio. I think when you hear the 619 hit and the music drops, I think people go, even both of them, like both themes that he had, people loved.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Okay, I think Jericho is worth considering as well.
Yeah.
I think that Break Down the Walls theme, and then of course how popular Judas has become in AEW. I think that's worthy of consideration. Here's a lock, man. I know you didn't grow up in his era, but the Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's a lock.
And that music is just like, oh,
yeah, no,
that's got to be
a lock. That's 1,000% a lock. 2, 3, 4.
So we're up to 7 locks. Now we have 3 spots left.
Okay.
So,
I'll throw out 2 more for consideration.
Okay.
Just because I think they need to be considered. I think Flair needs to be considered.
Okay.
And I think Punk needs to be considered.
Okay.
Those are my final 2. I will push in.
Okay. I will push in 2 more. And that is Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the Macho Man, The Undertaker, Hogan / NWO, Steve Austin, Triple H, Edge, and John Cena. That is 7. So in consideration for the last 3 spots that we have to agree on, Shawn Michaels, Batista, Ric Flair, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, and Rey Mysterio. So that is 7 people in 3 spots. That's a solid number, right? Like 7 for 3. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad. Okay. I'm with you. Oh, man, that's tough. Man, that is tough. Okay, I'm with you on Batista.
Okay.
I think Batista needs a lock.
Okay.
I'm good with
That's
Batista.
8.
So that's 8.
We could be really like, we could cheat the system. And I would say I give you Michaels if you give me Punk.
We could cheat the system, but Flair is so hard.
That's the one. That's like the top one that
so hard. I think if we're both saying that, we have to put Flair in it.
I do too. I think Flair needs to be on here.
We have 1 spot left for 5 guys. Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, and Chris Jericho.
I think, even though I love it, I think we can remove Rey.
Okay.
From consideration.
I also would remove Jericho.
Okay.
As good as Judas is, I think we can remove Jericho. So we're down to Punk, Orton, and HBK.
And they're all really good.
They're all so good.
Oh, and we didn't even talk about DX, did we?
Oh, we didn't talk about DX. Oh, geez. Okay, does DX get the last spot?
I would say no, because I think, well, it's very iconic. I think the other 3 are more iconic.
I agree. Yep, I agree. Shawn, Orton, Punk.
Because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, which of these gets sung by the crowd the most? And they all do.
They all do.
Like that's the problem, is they all get sung by the crowd, like consistently.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. This is tough.
This is so tough. Man. The only reason that I push back against Punk is because Cult of Personality is such a popular song outside of him using it as his theme song. You know what I mean? Because like 104.5 The Zone here in Nashville, that's their the 3HL show. That's their lead-in song, you know, and it's not because of CM Punk.
Right. Yeah. I can get behind that. And honestly, I lean more towards Randy than I do Shawn.
Yeah.
Because like Shawn's all of these music are iconic. But you talked about getting hyped or like getting excited. Yes. Shawn's like is a good time. But when Randy's music hits, it's just a different beast.
Yep.
It's just a different beast.
Okay. I think that's our lock. Okay. I agree. So here we go. Our 10 most iconic wrestling theme songs in no particular order, because ranking these would just be insane. we have Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H and all of his themes, Hulk Hogan in the NWO, Edge, John Cena, Ric Flair, Batista, Randy Orton, The Undertaker, and the Macho Man Randy Savage. I think
it's
that
wild that The Rock is not on here too.
I know. Yep. And Rock wasn't even one that we considered at the last minute.
I know. I just realized that too as we were talking.
Yep.
Because his final boss theme is legit.
It is.
So I don't know.
It very much is.
I like it though. I like our list.
I mean, there's so many guys that we didn't even throw out here. Kane, Sting, Diamond Dallas Page, The New Day.
You know who has if we're doing like greatest theme songs of all time, not necessarily the most recognizable, but like Christian's theme song,
yes,
is amazing.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Maybe one of these days,
the Nexus theme song.
Yes, maybe one of these days we'll actually just pick our favorites instead of the most iconic. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Like we would have very different answers, which is great.
We 100% will. You're right. Because my list would look a whole lot like the one that we just did. I'm just being honest. All right. That is going to do it. We appreciate you guys hanging with us on this live edition of Squared Circle Radio. If you're watching, make sure you leave comments, leave your questions. We'll get to those, whether it's live or whether it's after the show is over with. We'll get to those. We'll respond. We appreciate each one of you who have subscribed over the last week. Keep those numbers going up. Again, 90% of our viewership not subscribed. Please hit that subscribe button. It does not do anything we're not going to put you on an email list. We're not going to do any of that. We just want you to be able to subscribe to the show. It helps us so much. And tell a friend about a wrestling podcast. We would appreciate that so much. Again, as a reminder, this Saturday, the Elimination Chamber, we are live post show right afterwards. We're even talking about getting together to watch the show. It's sad we live in the same town and we can't do that, but we're going to try our best. Yet, Andy, we can go to Indianapolis and we can watch the Royal Rumble together.
Don't think about it too hard.
Right. All right. It's been a lot of fun. This show, we appreciate you guys so much. It's on the road to WrestleMania, so we've got lots and lots of content coming your way in the very, very near future. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher, and this has been yet another edition of Squared Circle Radio, and we will catch you guys down the road.